Yeah, check, check. Is it working better now? We're still working on it. Sorry about that. Yeah. All right. We're still setting up over here. Sorry, we had some different updates and stuff. We'll be live with Jeff in a moment. Be on his way soon. He said more like 1:30. He's coming in, right? Yes. I just was going to spend this time to tell you guys about Geoff Young. Jeff's actually my candidate of the year for 2022. He's actually quite anti-war, which is very cool. There's some other things going on. I'm quite a fan. Anyways, sorry, folks. Yeah, I'm just continuing to do this troubleshoot right here. Okay, folks. Okay. Sorry, folks. There's a lot of wires here. Got it. Yikes. Okay. All right, folks. We are done. Okay, we finished setting it up. Oh my goodness. All right. Thanks for that. All right. Let's get to the section over here. All right. This is my first time on StreamYard, so I'll see if I can actually share my screen with y'all. Okay. Geoff Young. Oh wow. Okay. Geoff Young is here. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. It was taking me time to figure this out. Yeah. So
Greetings.
yeah, it's great to see you again, man. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
All
How are
right.
you doing?
I was just I'm doing some different setup. Unfortunately, the Zoom count is down now, so now we're using StreamYard. But
Yeah,
it's good, right? When you're pushed to the edge, you have to innovate. You have to find new solutions. So I can also help other people that are on a tight budget to figure out how they can really maximize their stuff. Anyways, enough about that. We're here to talk about your issue today. We're here to look out for our friends when they're struggling, right? We're going to help out. Now, right now, you put out something you want a press release, right? I don't know if anybody else has covered this yet, but the fact is that you're talking about Judge Philip Shepard. Why don't you tell us about what's going on? Honestly, your inspiration. A lot of people, once again, want to talk about they're going to fight the Democrats while Geoff Young has taken them to court. I mean, multiple times. I mean, this guy's really, like I said before, you want to talk about a fighter. Okay, look for people that have actually fought. Yeah, not people that talk about it, but actually doing it. So let's go ahead, Geoff. What's going on?
okay. Well, just a tiny bit of background. I was born in Massachusetts, moved to Kentucky like 41 years ago, Lexington, Kentucky, which is kind of in the middle of the state, bluegrass, horses, um, and I am also in the middle of cooking something, so I need to check on it every 5 minutes. So it's a
That's all right.
pressure
Yeah.
cooker.
All
So
right.
I'll
That's
be
cool.
right back.
I understand. All right. So just to let you guys know, he's actually, I believe, ran as a Green before. He's also ran as a Democrat and as a Republican. So he's really someone who's outside of the boxes in terms of people. One of the main complaints that people really have is that they don't like this kind of like party thinking where people, don't really have thoughts of their own. But Geoff Young actually has
Start.
um, also that provides a lot of knowledge. He understands how the Republicans work, how the Democrats work, how they
143.
think in his area. So, wait, you ran with the Greens before, am I correct?
150.
Yeah,
Say,
pressure cooker. What are you cooking, by the way? What's for lunch? Oh, okay. So what's for lunch, Geoff?
chicken.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Yeah. All right. So, all right. So, yeah. So, tell me about you have this issue going on with Judge Philip Shepard, right? Yeah. And
Yeah,
Pennsylvania. What's
well,
going on there? Yeah.
I never thought, 15, 20 years ago, I never thought I would be running for any office. That's not for me. But in 2012, I decided I was retired from working in state government in Kentucky. I worked in the Energy and Environment Cabinet, trying to improve energy efficiency and solar energy in Kentucky. And retired from that and became a kind of a full-time political activist, um, mostly on the environment and anti-war. All my life, I've been anti-war, anti-imperialism. Right. So in 2012, I decided I was going to run for the Kentucky House of Representatives, um, against the incumbent, who was an entrenched far right wing, Christian right Republican in my section of Lexington. Uh, so I ran as a Green. I was a member of the Green Party from 2009 to 2013. 2012, I ran as a Green and obviously didn't win. Nobody knew me, and I didn't have money to advertise. But I
Were,
learned how to do it.
were
You
you
know,
able to get on the ballot though?
I was on the ballot.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I needed 100 signatures. I probably got 150 signatures from folks who just wanted there to be more choices. They oh yeah, you want to run? Yeah, sure, fine, I'll sign your thing.
I'm
So
a green at heart myself, honestly. A lot of the stuff that you say, environmentalism, probably speaks to my audience because that's really, and anti-war stuff. That's really at the heart of my own work. Yeah.
uh-huh,
Um,
that's great.
I do want to get to the thing, but just want to ask you as an aside, since we're on the topic of the Greens right here. Right now, currently, Cornel West, I think, is one of the people that they're talking about. There's other people running as well. How do you feel
Okay.
about the whole Cornel West situation in the Green Party? Just wondering, from being a formal, I think you're a Green first, kind of.
Well, I've followed Cornel West and what he's been saying and doing for several years, and I think he'd make a tremendous president, maybe the best candidate running. Um, but running as a Green, and as you say, there are other Greens running. I don't know anything about them.
Well, I like to say
Can
at this
you give
point
me
that I
some names, or have I heard of any of them?
Okay. Some of them I know actually they're going to announce. I'm actually
Oh,
hanging out with,
okay.
I'm actually hanging out with a bunch of them. They're actually planning on taking on the Green Party leadership for actually coronating Cornel West.
Oh, have they
But
done that? I didn't know they
no,
did that.
I could tell you about some things going on behind the scenes because I actually work on the ground with these organizations. I don't just
Okay.
actually hear about it on the news. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
actually in there operating, so I know like what's going on. And there's a, but to tell you the truth, that's something I like about you, Geoff. I know that you know that I'm outspoken in my criticisms of Major and other things like that, but you still continue to talk to both sides, and I
Yeah,
like that about you. You know what I mean? Honestly, I think that's someone that. And once again, I don't tell people to stop talking to people. I say both talk to both sides.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But listen to both sides. Don't shut me out because I make them uncomfortable. And just still talking to me. So once again, to all the crews that I talk to, disabilities, public housing, stuff like that, you might not find that you agree with Geoff, or you might find some perspective differences. But remember that he's still giving me a chance to be heard. He's still talking to me, and I'm still
Right.
helping him. And we're the little people, and we're helping each other. So thank
Okay.
you,
So,
thank you for that. Yeah.
so just to answer your question about third parties and the Green Party in particular, I'm a big fan right now of RFK Jr., Democrat. I think he's the best major party candidate to come along in decades. Um, Obviously not perfect, nobody is. But if the DNC, the Democratic Party establishment, manages to um, ram Joe Biden down our throats, in 2024. I will be voting for whoever the Green Party nominates. And I got to check the chicken again.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's the right. Yeah, Geoff Young's really kind of like a he threw a lot of he sacrificed a lot. He put a lot of his own money into running for the office, and he's
That doesn't take long, but
that's
I
okay.
hope folks aren't annoyed by that.
Pressure cookers are very efficient, by the way. They can actually,
That's right.
yeah, you may actually hear that when you boil things at different temperatures, that they cause a difference, right? Why is that? Because when you're at high altitude, there's less air column sitting on the. I'm a scientist, yeah, so I'm into this stuff. Yeah, anyways, yeah, there's less sitting on the air column.
Yeah, you can
So
cook it at a higher temperature than
there you go.
just throwing it in boiling water. So
Yeah.
it's quick. Anyway,
I did also want to ask you right quick about still sorry I do want to talk about your issue today. We're definitely getting into that, but you're actually have some work background in the solar industry now. Some people say the solar industry is a scam, or they worry that there's problems with it. But you've actually worked in it, right? I'm glad to hear firsthand. What do you think about solar energy? What are the problems, and what are there problems, or is it just like pretty much good to go? What do you think?
okay, so basically there's two kinds of solar energy technologies. One is photovoltaics, where you generate electricity, and the other is solar heating, and every other kind of use of solar. So when I was working for the state government, I was always focused more on the solar heating and the energy efficiency side. If you if you don't waste energy, if it doesn't leak through your house like leaking through a sieve, or your commercial building or anything, then that's energy you don't have to generate from coal or natural gas or even photovoltaics. So I was always stressing energy efficiency first. The most efficient, quickest, least damage to the environment approach or strategy that exists. The solar heating is not too far from energy efficiency. You use the sun to heat water instead of using gas or electric water heaters. You use the sun to heat your house.
Yeah.
You can provide lighting at no cost in a commercial building. So solar heating is neglected in the debate in Washington, in state governments. It's not as sexy as photovoltaics.
Actually, that's one of
Solar
the
electric.
reasons why I bring it up, because the fact is that people have this Green New Deal. It sounds good, environmental, but there's a lot of industry, right? Yeah, people who make those electric chips, they can make money by selling that product, even if it's harmful for the environment. But solar
Well,
heating, right, which is much more efficient, right? There's less interest in that because there's not as right. It's anybody can start to use solar heating. They can
yeah,
make a solar oven. They could use solar heat to start heating their homes or capture the heat more effectively. Oh, but we
right.
can't really make as much money on that. Let's not talk about that, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
true. But photovoltaics, the cost keeps coming down, and so I'm all for photovoltaics too.
okay, good to know.
Um, it's just a little bit more expensive right now. It'll probably keep on coming down. Um, so yeah, solar energy, basically wonderful. Let's do it.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, there's a lot of concerns that I have regarding the environmental industry, and especially the way they're rolling out on the port. But I appreciate you. Yeah. Now let's move on to what's going on with your. Now the thing is that you've been taking on, you've been fighting unfair. They've been trying to keep you off the ballot, but you actually fought and threw a ground force. I talked to honestly. I remember there was this young lady who was on the program, and she was like, "I'm gonna win this time." It was her first time, and I was like, "Geoff Young's gone 4 or 5 times. He finally built up his ground base. He finally got on the ballot. They couldn't stop him. You're inspiration. But right now you're under fire. What's going on, man? How can we help?"
Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
So let me, after not winning as a Green, I switched back to my lifelong party, um, the Democratic Party, and ran for the U.S. House of Representatives in 2014. That was my first run for a major office, and um, ran as a Democrat. And I got on the ballot. It's very easy for a Republican or a Democrat to get on the ballot in most states. Incredibly easy. I needed 2 signatures plus my own, and all 3 had to be notarized. And I mentioned that running as a Green, I had to get 100 to run for the Kentucky House. So 2014, I ran. If I had run third party in 2014, Green again, I would have had to get 400 signatures and, instead of 2. So they make it easy for the major parties. It's a duopoly. Anyway, I ran, and I had one Democratic opponent who was equally unknown, exactly a newcomer like me. But she had made friends with some of the um, Democratic people in my county party. And she was, kind of a standard liberal Democrat.
Was she a district leader?
No, she wasn't. She just joined just a couple months before I did, toward the middle or end of 2013. So I joined in October 2014, and they had known her like 3 months longer than me. But the party, the actual members of the executive committee of my county party liked her better. She was more conventional and typical Democrat. So they rigged it in favor of her. And let me think now, how did they rig it? Well,
I can tell you some ways that they rig it here in New York. You know what I mean? One of the ways that they do it is they have this thing called county committee, and that's actually where the votes get taken in, but they don't make it public about how to get into county committee.
Yeah.
Not only that, right? But then the thing is that they have literally, right? I don't know if you guys do it. Sometimes they do it by voice vote. Sometimes they do it by. Sometimes they're not registering at the actual event, right? We actually have Theo Chino. We're in our own struggle for that. Actually, this ties into the judge and how those are appointed, right? Because the same body, I don't know about in Kentucky, but here in New York, right? Yeah, this same body is also responsible for appointing the judicial nominees. So the thing is that, right? So let's talk about it, because I want to.
Well, I just remembered how they rigged it in 2014. The governor of Kentucky, Steve Beshear at the time, and the lieutenant governor both endorsed her, and they did robocall. They got their voices taped endorsing her, and they had a robocall company call, every Democrat in the 6th district. Right. That's how they rigged it in 2014.
Well, you got to do that as well. I mean, we've been collecting the voter data and making it public, but you can't trust the data. You got to go out and talk to people yourself.
Well, to do that, you have to have money.
Another thing that they do is down here is, like, I don't know if you've seen the documentary. I forgot, it starts with a V, something like that. But they use the senior centers, and they also, like, the reason why they're important to immigrants is a lot of times the immigrants, the ones that do vote, if they do get to vote, right, are managed by these not-for-profits that encourage them to move in a certain way. Same thing with people receiving, or these senior citizens that are living in these nursing homes, they are dependent on the people to provide them care. Now the people are asking them to vote a certain way.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
That goes on in every state, I'm sure. Yeah. But the reason I call it election rigging is that we have a law in Kentucky that says the leadership of any party that has primaries may not rig them. We have an article in the Kentucky Constitution that's very short, and it says all elections shall be free and equal. So if you've got the governor, who's the leader of the Kentucky Democratic Party, officially or unofficially, endorsing one of the Democrats in a primary, that's illegal in Kentucky. And even in states that don't have a law like that, it still defeats the purpose of having a primary, because in a primary, the voters are supposed to choose who their nominee is, who they want.
Yeah.
And the leadership of the party is supposed to be neutral.
And it's so provable, just so you know. I encourage my listeners right now, go ahead, Google Geoff Young. You're going to find out, right, just it's spelled on the screen. What happens is that he won his primary, and then the party leadership actually endorsed his competitor, even though he won an election, and it democratically decided, even when he won, they're like, screw what the voters think. We're making our own decision over here. This is open. This is right. This is matter of public record.
Very, very open. Okay, so let's fast forward to 2022, which is the primary you were just talking about. Which the only time in my life I've ever won a primary. And again, I had another unknown opponent, but by this time I was more known than he was, and I actually won it narrowly in May of 2022. And so the governor, Steve Beshear's son, Andy Beshear, became the governor after his father did.
What is this? North Korea? Come on, what is this?
Right.
What is this?
I think, let me think now. There was a Republican in between them. In between the father and the son, we had a Republican. But then, anyway, Andy had become governor, and he said, he was at a press conference or an interview with media the day after the 2022 primary in May. And a reporter asked him, well, Geoff Young won his primary there in Lexington. Are you going to endorse him? And he said, no.
They were open about it. They actually went against you hard, yeah? That was really
right.
They do this actually repeatedly. They did this in Nevada. And it's time for us to start working together. You notice that the press doesn't really talk about this struggle, doesn't talk about the struggle when it's going on. They only cover you after you win. It's time for us to learn from, honestly, Geoff, you are actually a role model for other candidates that are ready to take on. Maybe there could even be what do they call when all those people get together for a lawsuit, right? Yeah, there's
class action.
Yeah, there's an ongoing large problem systemic wide that the press isn't talking about either. We need real justice here. New York citizens I want to shout them out right now. They actually did an algorithm to study, right, how the voter, they're using a lot of people who are dead, right? Yeah, and we bring them back to life to vote and all kinds of other shenanigans, right? Yeah, and the democracy itself is being circumvented. Geoff Young, honestly, I know it's a damn shame that he's just not getting covered more. And the real rebels out here, the ones who's really taking on the system and really challenging them, watch how they're taking him down. Yeah, learn. This is I'm sorry. Keep going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? They use the judges and stuff.
Even more current this year. 2023, we have our governor elections, and like 5 offices, Secretary of State, State Attorney General, in odd years. So we've got a governor election coming up in November. One Republican, one Democrat, and the Democrat is Andy Beshear. So this one, I started suing them in 2015. They really didn't like that. I'm not an attorney, but I gradually learned how to do it. Every time I would file a lawsuit from 2015 until today, they would file, the Democrats, or in 2020, the Republican Party filed a motion to dismiss.
So have you ever, so you've done this case basically on your own. Have you ever talked to a lawyer just to consult, or have you never, you just did the whole thing on your own? Okay.
I mean, I've asked many lawyers, and they don't answer. You know, nobody wants to take my cases. So what happened this year, and also participating in the election rigging this year was Kentucky Educational Television, KET. They often have debates between candidates, and in the spring before the primary for governor 2023, um, they set these requirements in order to be on our stage and debate. You have to have raised $100,000, raised or spent. Uh, and obviously, that discriminates against people who don't have a whole lot of money or don't have a lot of rich friends or lobbyists. So I've sued KET in the past. Um, anyway, the Kentucky Democratic Party obviously rigged this one. They had a meeting in March before the May primary, at which they changed a bylaw saying they are allowed to endorse one Democrat over another. That has never been part of their bylaws in a primary. So they have this bylaw amendment, and then the same day, they let me listen to the meeting on Zoom, but I couldn't speak. Okay. So they have the Andy Bashir, the incumbent governor, speaking, and then they have me listening, and they vote to amend the bylaw to allow the party to endorse one candidate, one Democrat over another in primaries. And then 2 minutes after they passed that bylaw amendment, they endorsed Andy Bashir and his running mate for lieutenant governor, and started or continued. Really, they had started working on their campaign months before, but they continued. They stepped up their efforts to help his campaign. Never gave me any help at all, of course, and that violated the Kentucky law. That all parties that have primaries may not rig them. So I sued them again. And I also filed a ballot challenge in state court, which says that Andy Barr's name should be taken off the ballot for the primary, or if it's too late, if the primary has already happened, he should be disqualified, and we should have a new primary election on the Democratic side between the two remaining candidates, myself and a fairly unknown politician named Pepe Martin.
Quick question, yeah.
Yeah.
Besides their own admitted, right? Yeah. Their own admissions. Is there any other evidence that you have that really? Is there any maybe written documents where they're or?
Well, the minutes of the meeting at which they endorsed and started working on the campaign.
Where can people get a hold of those minutes? Where can people
well, you can.
I hope they watch. Yeah.
Contact me.
Okay. How can
you can find me on Twitter.
Okay.
On Facebook, I may be getting banned from Facebook pretty soon for commenting about a certain vaccine issue. They don't like that, but if I'm banned from Facebook, I'll still be on Twitter. But anyway, yeah, you can find me there.
Is George for KY, or what is it again?
On Twitter?
Geoff Young for KY. What is it again?
Something like that.
I forgot. Oh my goodness. Yeah, what's the website though? You should always remember that one.
Website, Young for Kentucky, YOUNG, the number 4, KY.com. But you'll have to look for the archive version, because I haven't started up my new website.
Well, one clue that I can put in, so the thing is that, right, we want to talk to different communities. Unfortunately, Jimmy Gore's community has been shut off to me, but maybe it's open to you. I hope so, right? Yeah. But one community I can put you in touch with who have also been wronged by the judicial system, Melinda Katz up here, right? She was elected Queen CA despite, ignoring the case of the second longest wrongfully man held in, for wrongful incarceration in New York State, refusing to address him, or Nolan Farrell, right? These people have also seen election manipulation go on to make sure that their needs are unaddressed. That's why I work with communities like that, like people with disabilities, people with public housing that have been traditionally underserved.
Hmm.
And, seeing how you keep talking to me, where once again, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're still accessible, despite the fact that, a lot of other people in a certain ecosystem have shut me out.
Hmm.
Maybe these people can also find relief or justice through someone who remains open. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So what other people can you find, right, to be, once again, we talked about like other camps that have been ripped off by the system, like the other camps that are reaching out to you
Well,
that
let
are
me
working
answer
with you
your
to address this. Yeah.
let me answer your first question about this judge. So before the primary, 12 days
Yeah.
before the primary, I filed this ballot challenge trying to get Andy Bashir's name removed from the ballot, or if the election happens, to have all his votes set to zero and have a new primary with just the two legitimate, constitutionally qualified candidates on the ballot without Bashir. And so this judge, the day before the primary, he just wasted time until the day before the primary. Um, we had a
They do this so
motion
you can't
hour.
challenge it. So you cannot, right? Yeah, they delay it, so it's too late. That's
Yeah,
right.
he did it almost till it's too late. So the afternoon of the Monday before the election, he enters an order granting Andy Bashir's motion to dismiss. And uh, I'm not a lawyer, but I've seen enough motions to dismiss and enough orders from judges granting motions to dismiss to be able to tell instantly that it was legally devoid of merit. He threw the case. He violated the civil rules that tell judges what cases they're allowed to dismiss before discovery or before trial. And he violated all of those civil rules. He provided no factual basis for any of his legal conclusions. That violates the law. Judges, like anybody else, are supposed to show their work, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And this judge dismissed you. How did this judge get into power? We're trying to affect that right now ourselves. The judges are really a part of the problem, and we need to
Yeah.
actually make them accountable. How did that judge get into power in your district? This judge, what's the judge's name? Bradshaw or something? What's the name? How did how
Steve,
did
Philip Shepard.
Philip Shepard? How did this
Well,
judge
he
go
had a
ever?
long and distinguished career. He was the secretary of the Energy and Environment Cabinet in Frankfurt when I
Okay.
was working there. As far
Are
as I
judges
knew,
elected there
he
through
was
like
really
through party
good.
system, or how did they get in? Yeah,
Well, he
yeah. So you
decided
put it that way.
to change careers, and I think he was a lawyer for a long time. He was a lawyer at the time when he was Secretary of the Cabinet. But he decided, well, he'd like to be a judge. And so he ran. We have elections for judges in Kentucky. Not every state does it that way. He ran and won and became a judge. I don't know
Quick question:
how long ago.
Are these public elections or are these
Yeah,
party elections?
public.
Oh, okay. All right, interesting. Yeah, here the way that people get into that framework is they go through the party system, and the party
Okay.
kind of controls it. Yeah,
Well,
because
I'm trying to think now. There could have been a primary. I mean, yeah, he would have had to win the primary
do these
whenever
judges
it
run?
was,
Yeah,
10 years ago.
these judges run as Democrats and get Democrat Party like support and stuff like that for
No,
the
no, no,
candidates?
no, I'm wrong.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Judge elections are all nonpartisan. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
you just put your name out there, and nobody's even supposed to know what party you are.
But in the background, in reality, right?
They
Yeah,
do.
right or wrong, yeah, they're connected. Yeah,
Everybody knows.
Yeah, they're connected because of course you're going to be connected, right? Yeah, you really play on strings of power. They definitely, right? Yeah, you definitely get your people into the judge position. A lot of times it's the last resort. And once again, people who are working wrongful conviction, people who are in public housing, they have not gotten justice. That's why I work with
Right.
them because, right? Yeah, and they will be receptive to your message in a way that a lot of other people will not. You know what I mean? So, what are other groups that besides candidates, right? I'm trying to get those together
Mhm.
too with the Unified Platform. Thanks for participating on that. Just so you know Brian Winters and his American Union. We're actually teaming up for the 24 election cycle, so we're going to work together. Even though a lot of these other groups, right? Yeah, like I like his program. I'm not here to be the guy. I'm here to actually get the change. So
Right.
me and Brian, but once again, you can see that from Yang Gang to Jimmy Dore's group to MPP, like they're all suppressing knowledge of our work. Keep doing
Mhm.
it. Go ahead. Yeah. But I
Okay.
appreciate we
So
should cross those worlds. I'm so sorry to jam out
no,
with
no,
stuff
no,
like that.
no. That's right. No, it's good to know what's going on in different locations.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't have to be a lawyer to file a lawsuit. Uh, and anyone can do it. Um, and you may get your first few cases dismissed because they may not um, make a case that is legally comprehensible. I
Are you
mean,
going to
what
appeal the case? Are you going to appeal their throwing out the case, their dismissal?
no, I've done that every time a case has been dismissed between 2015 and now. Every time I've appealed, the Kentucky Court of Appeals um, simply says, "Oh, this is what the judge says, so we deny your appeal." They don't do any
What's the use of
judging.
appealing? What's the use of appealing?
There's no use at all. I've thought for years that the Kentucky Court of Appeals is a cesspool of corruption,
You
and
even approached the Supreme Court. Am I correct?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Many times I've appealed a Court of Appeals decision up to the Kentucky Supreme Court, and they do the same thing. They either refuse to review it because they don't have to. They have a choice, or they do review it and then say, "Oh, the trial court said Mr. Young's lawsuit was dismissed." And the Court of Appeals said, "Yeah, they agree with that. So we agree too." It's like there's no legal analysis. These decisions never say what my arguments were.
This is
They
this
never
this
show their
precedent.
work.
Yeah, this precedent is historically significant. As you can see, they are disregarding right people who've been elected to positions, things like that.
Mhm.
What do you think is
Hold on, got
I'm
to
sorry. Go ahead.
check the pressure cooker.
Go ahead. Man, yeah, you gotta live. Yeah.
Okay, that's the last time. It's off the heat.
All right. That's
It's just
cool.
kind
Yeah.
of cooled down by itself. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Look, I know you're actually. I know what you sacrificed for the campaign. I know what you've really put in a lot of your own personal investment of time and energy, and also your finances. I know you've actually put that all on the line to try to
Yeah,
fix the future, and I
yeah.
respect that so much, man.
Not
Yeah,
only do they do these courts, mostly the trial courts, but also the Court of Appeals and even the Kentucky Supreme Court. Just dismissing it is not enough. The
and
lawyers always ask for money. Uh,
the
and
lawyers and the judges work together. And the thing is that, right? Yeah,
yes,
like that's why the lawyers don't want to take your case because they have to see that judge another day. They don't want to take a case against the judge. Never. Yeah. Good luck with that one. They're coworkers. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Like people in the wrongfully incarcerated, they face the same issues. So,
yeah, that's
um,
right.
what other
And they
communities?
spend time in prison
Yeah. What,
because
as a result of that crap. Yeah.
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 So, I've been appealing, but I'm not appealing this time. 2023. Okay, what I
I'm
did
sorry.
was
Yeah.
when the judge threw out my case the day before the primary, I filed a motion with the same judge um, to vacate his order, reverse it, and say, I filed like 30-page explanation of why his order was unlawful, violated the civil rules, and he didn't do anything he was supposed to do. So I filed that. And then, a couple of weeks later, he has another motion hour and just says, no, I deny your motion to vacate. And, uh, and the explanation, well, there was no explanation of that. And I did it a second time. I filed another motion to vacate the first two. And there, he also denied that. I think that was on July 5th. Uh, and meanwhile, the primary's over, and Bashir and his opponent, the Republican opponent, Daniel Cameron, are both running for governor. Um, and I'm still asking the judge to change his decision.
You
All
know, I'm
right,
actually a
so
longtime corruption fighter, and the thing is that when they
yeah,
get to this level of arrogance, right? The thing is
hmm
that, and once again, we see it. Once again, I've heard my viewers to look in Google. I probably should do a screen share, but I'm just learning StreamYard, by the way. But
yeah, but
yeah,
arrogance is exactly the right word.
they will say it on not on what is it local nationally syndicated TV, right? What was KR WKR who announced as these candidates literally said we're not going to support Geoff Young even though he's elected, right? Yeah. Which what was the name of that channel that put it on?
I think it might have been WKYT. I
Are they
forget.
are they affiliated with NBC or ABC? One of those?
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
I can't.
Even them, they are yeah that bold. Like they're like we don't care. We're going to tell the world that we don't care about what people who voted think. The party
Well, right. That's
has
right.
their own agenda. Yeah, screw Geoff Young, screw the people. We got our own agenda. What? They just
Well,
said it like live on
they
TV. They don't even care. It's bonkers.
right.
It's nuts. Yeah, this is historically
Yeah,
split.
yeah. I mean, he was insulting,
This level of
arrogant and
disregard. Yeah.
insulting at that press conference. He said Geoff Young needs help, and this is not going to help
So
him.
what I was trying to get at was like when they get to this level of open, right? They've done it to other people. Has anybody maybe reached out to you? Like we talked about class action before. I'm interested in getting you in touch with people from across the country who are experiencing similar issues, who the press isn't helping, by the way. Just like
Uh-huh.
real people out here fighting for Assange, by the way. Like real people fighting against the war,
Oh
by the
yeah.
way. Right? Yeah. But anyways, so
Okay. Well,
uh,
I mean,
yeah. Has
there
anybody
were
reached out to you?
in this year's governor's race, there were 12 Republicans and 3 Democrats in the primary season. One of those Republicans is kind of a fighter. He actually is an attorney,
Yeah.
Eric Dieters, and he might be willing to talk with you about how corrupt Kentucky judges are, because he mentioned that on the campaign trail. He says, I'm fighting for the common people, and um, when judges
If
when
he does,
judges are
I,
corrupt, I say that, and I try to get them.
if he does, by the way, and I talked a little bit about some of my national coalition, like people from Pennsylvania, people from Texas, people from California. I'd like you to be a lead. In the year of the 22 election cycle, both me and Brian Winters recognized how you were actually willing to go above and beyond to work with others, to have real honest conversations about policy. I think Susan from West Virginia might remember her, former Green presidential candidate. Also, I
Mhm.
think we're West Virginia, not too far from Kentucky, right? Yeah,
Oh
we can
yeah,
get
we're
some.
border. We're
Yeah,
right. We border
exactly.
them.
We have some shared issues, right? Yeah, both speaking to I think mostly right wing audience, but I think that we have a lot in common and a lot of addressment that the Democrat Party BS and but unfortunately it happened on the Republican side too, and we're all fighting
Yeah.
as little people trying to get our issues heard. I'd like you to be a lead. So if I ever talk with a Republican guy, I want you to keep being an ongoing part of honestly a future change because of whether you're elected or not, you will. If you're working with me, I swear to God, we will impact the process. It doesn't matter one way or the other. Yeah,
hmm
I could tell
hmm
you're in it to stick with it. So I'd like to talk
Okay.
with him. Yeah, but I hope you'd be a part of that conversation as well.
Oh, I'd be happy to talk with people who have been wronged by our legal system. So just to finish up, the I didn't file any more motions to
I
vacate.
get it. I
What
get
I
it.
did was I went to the Kentucky Judicial Conduct Commission and said, this judge has behaved in an outrageously unlawful way. And you, the Judicial Conduct Commission, have the authority to remove him from the bench. You can reprimand him or slap on the wrist, but you can also get him fired, get him gone. And I asked them to do that, and they wrote back to my version 1 of my complaint against Philip Shepard and said, "Oh, well, we don't think we might have the authority to um, even consider your complaint because it's not like about a judge that's taking bribes or sleeping with the one side of the defense attorney or doing something, being drunk when he's sitting up there. It's not one of those kind of complaints. You're talking about an ongoing case that where you disagree with the. All right, so I filed an amended one. Oh, they said they were bound by the Kentucky Supreme Court's rules of judicial conduct. Okay, fine.
When does
I,
this judge
I
get
looked.
reelected?
I looked them
Yeah.
up,
Does
and
the judge have a? Is the judge going to face a reelection cycle?
he's not. He's in there for another 7 years. We have 8-year terms, and he just got reelected in November of 2022. So anyway, I filed an amended complaint against the same judge uh, last week and sent it to the Judicial Conduct Commission and said, okay, look, I looked up the rules of judicial conduct and he violated about 8 of them. So now will you consider my complaint? Now you have no more excuses.
Could you maybe trigger through a jury trial? Is that an option?
No, I could appeal. Let's see. If the Kentucky Bar Association
Can't trust the
reaches a
judgment. You got to go to the
decision,
jury if that's available.
that's no, it goes to the Kentucky Supreme Court. Uh, and they are judges who have started out, they may have started out honest. By the time they get to the Kentucky Supreme Court, they're totally corrupt too.
Try to get the right. It's a constitutional right to have a right to trial by your peers, right? Yeah. So you might be able
Yeah.
to make a call for that, but you can't trust these judges. Yeah, they're obviously corrupt. They're obviously tied to the political system. They're obviously getting money. They're obviously, we're actually trying to, through something called Rep My Block, take over the county committee here because we know that we can't get justice. They're already knocking off candidates here in New York City left and right all the time. They're playing a lot of games. Yeah, a lot of games. So,
Well,
sorry,
there's one other option that the Kentucky House and Kentucky Senate can remove a judge, and by the impeachment process.
Okay.
And so that's another possible avenue. Right now, it seems like a very narrow, winding avenue, but
I'm sure
it
there's
does
other
exist.
people, unhappy with the judge's decisions who might team up with you. What about, is there a possibility for a referendum to maybe address the cause of the issue and say, I bet you the Kentucky people would gladly vote to say, we don't like rigging in the elections. If you could put that as referendum line.
There are ballot initiatives which go before the voting public. You can do that, but it requires that the General Assembly, the House and Senate, put it on the ballot.
Yeah, good luck
I
with
think
that
there's a maximum of 2 such votes per year or per election. And so you have to get it through the Kentucky House and Senate, which in my opinion is less corrupt than Kentucky judicial branch. So there are various options. But right now I'm after the judges and I'm after the lawyers. I'm trying to get the lawyers disbarred and the judges removed from their posts and disbarred. That's my current activity and strategy right now. And I'm going to be running for the U.S. House of Representatives in 2024.
Yeah, I'm putting together the team right now. Actually, I'm talking with former Green presidential and current Green presidential candidates. There's actually stuff going on in the background that's quite exciting. And like I said, we actually have historical exonerees such as Vincent Motor, the first man freed of DNA evidence in the nation, the second longest wrongfully incarcerated man in New York State history. We're having Keith Gadsden that we're working with, public housing allies across the nation. It's quite exciting, yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
and once again, thanks again for your leadership. Yeah, I have
All
another
right.
interview coming up with the mayor, the former mayor candidate from Oakland, California. But once again, during this is my candidate of the year for the 2022 election cycle. I appreciate you keep coming on the show and
Well,
trying to
thanks.
starting us out like a lot of the other cats do. Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Always a
Thanks for staying
pleasure
for a little.
to talk with you, DJL. Thanks a
God bless,
lot.
bud.